All right, so in today's video, I'm going to be showing you the best weapon recipe inside of the Forge. Now, I'm going to give you the best recipe I have personally used for getting good items. And alongside this, I'm also going to be giving you a good recipe, just formula in general you should follow whenever crafting. So first things first is the recipes I will be demonstrating with are going to be on the website. I will link in the description. This is just as a note if there's any I don't list or you want to see. So as a quick note, a lot of ores have some passives you want to take advantage of. For example, if you use ore, most likely, if you use enough of them, you're going to get the ability ore on it. And this ability is going to be increased physical damage and less health. So you're going to be 10% less health, but an increase to physical damage. So, and I'm going to be giving away either every single game pass, or I'm going to be giving away 50 rerolls to a few people. And to enter into the giveaway, if you want to enter, all you got to do is comment Roblox username down below, leave a like and hype this video, and that'll enter you into the giveaway. Ore is a decent ore to use because of that increased physical damage, because the percentage reduction can easily be counteracted if you just have good armor. And you know, that good armor can easily just make it to where 10% realistically isn't going to be that big of a deal. Now, the next thing is going to be, just as a quick note, is when you are crafting, you can stack passives on your items. I'll leave this in the description. It's on the same website. I'll leave the recipe for it's like a crafting recipe. So this is the website. You can just come here to the calculator right off the main page, and in here you can, you know, say I'm using like a bunch of darkite, right? This has the highest multiplier, but has no passive. Lightite has no passive, but say you're using ore, then, you know, if you get the full capabilities of this, I think you have to use at least 11 ore, you're going to get the full trait. Now, there are other similar things you can use. You can get the thing from, I believe, Magmite has a passive. Yeah. So if you were to do 11 ore, 5 Magmite, you would then have this. And then I think Firite also has an ability, but as you see, it starts to overrun the other one. So 30%, this optimally would look like this. So 5 Magmite, 11 ore, 6 Firite, right? Something like this would be pretty decent. And obviously this isn't the recipe I'm talking about, but something like this would get you a great weapon. Then if you were to try to average out your multiplier, as you see, we're at a 4.3, using something like Demonite wouldn't be too bad of a weapon. But as you see, we start to lose a bit of our traits. So ideally what you could do is equally put in both of these. So if you have both at 10, as you see, you're going to get the full benefit of all of these passives. So you also have now a chance to get these great weapons. So realistically, if you were to craft with this, if you use 10 Magmite, 10 or 11 ore, and 10 Firite, you could have the Magmite trait, the ore trait, and the Firite trait. Now, for the most part, I believe there are more that give traits like Poopite, 15% poison for 5 seconds when below 35 HP. This is best for armor. I will say this is good for putting in armor as a beginner. Realistically, the multiplier 1.2 means you don't want to put this on your main armor because of the reduction. Obsidian, 30% extra defense on armor. Once again, better for armor. Riviolite, 20% critical chance on weapons. As once again, quick note, I would not recommend using Riviolite. This passive is really good. If you can use Riviolite, I would. But since it's only a 3.3, you'd be losing a lot of value if you're using higher end ores. Now, as you see, most legendary to mythical ores are going to have a passive. So Uranium has a passive for armor. Mithril has a passive for armor. So Mithril, that's why, as you see, I have it invisible, but I used my armor mainly built of Mithril because of the boost to just passives. It has Mithril and ore in it, which, as you might see, Mithril 3.5, ore 4x. So there's not a huge jump in difference. But then with this Firite, 20% burn chance on weapons. So 20% burn chance on weapons is pretty good, especially considering it's a 4.5. Now, as a quick note, with the ore, this is another thing to note. The the health reduction that you do have, it's not damage reduction. Damage increase and health reduction does make it to where you kind of don't want to use too many builds with ore because of the fact, like, yes, the damage increase is nice, but you can end up having a stacked very high health reduction. Like for me, I have on this minus 4.5% health, on my weapon of choice minus I don't think I have the minus health on this, but say I was using this, I believe there would be on the ore weapon minus 10% health. So if I included 11 ore like the crafting showed on every single weapon I used in armor, I would have a huge reduction to my character's health. Now the next Magmite, 50% chance for an explosion of AoE weapons. So this, or 50% of the weapons damage is in an AoE explosion. That's at the max capability. Lightite, 15% extra movement for speed on armor. So the Lightite is very good for armor. Obviously, it's useless in weapons. Demonite, burn and demons backfire passive. I believe this is a passive for armor. So if I were to build, go back to the home page, if I'm crafting with armor, I'm doing armor and I'm using a ton of Demonite, yeah, 25% reflect burn chance. So it'll reflect the damage and, you know, make them burn. And then similar with Darkite, 15% chance for dodge chance. So you only need 6 Darkite to get the full capabilities of that. And you only need 3 Demonite to get the full passive. So you only need 3 Demonite and 6 Darkite, and you will have a 6.3 multiplier on your armor and a huge benefit to this. Now, obviously, as you see, you'll only get light leggings, light chest plates, and light helmets. But obviously, you know, we're talking about weapons. So once again, the passives on these two is pretty much useless if you are wanting to craft with weapons. My best recommendation for weapons currently is crafting with things like Magmite, because the passive is very beneficial. Magmite, as you see, I put some in this, and we have a 13.75% chance of a explosion, or dealing 13.75% chance, 9% chance for that to hit. So very good passive overall. So realistically, the best formula you want to follow is this. So first, I'd recommend checking out the website in the description. You'd go to the homepage right here and then check ores, and then you can look at the passives, all the things you have. You want to make sure that you are optimally using your ore. And what this means is, as you can see, the multiplier an item has is based on the weapon you are crafting. So if I go over to index, if I'm trying to craft, let's say, a good iron hand weapon, the base damage of an iron hand is 7.6. So the multiplier of your weapon's multiplier is going to be multiplying this number. So 7.6. Now there's other ones like the Chaos, the Cutlass, right? These have, I think the one with the highest average damage per second, which you should try to get, is the Dragon Slayer, which is the, it's one of the rarer ones in the Colossal Swords. The Spoon one's kind of horrible, but Skull Crusher, these ones have the highest hit delay. Skull Crusher sucks, don't get it. They have the highest like attack speed, which means they take the longest to attack again, but they have higher damage. So the best one, I think, technically, if you do the math, is the Dragon Slayer. But so what we're going to look at is what you should craft. So from my personal preference is going to be Iron Hand or the Cutlass, which is the other ones that I do have. I'm currently using this one because technically this one is better statistically for its damage output per second. But the Darkite Iron Hand weapon that I do have and the Demonite Cutlass, these two are very, very good prime examples of this. But as a quick note though, optimally, I would recommend getting a good weapon that is as close to a 5 multiplier as you can. But what you can do is realistically stacking passive abilities might be better than actually stacking a multiplier, because you get more of a benefit. So what I would recommend is something like Magmite and Firite combined are a very good combo. But I would also recommend not crafting with ores that are over 1x apart. So realistically, yes, you could do, say, Magmite and Ore, but I would not recommend doing like Magmite and Mithril, because, you know, firstly, that gives an armor passive, and that's a really huge gap, because what ends up happening is the average out, it goes to like the middle of both values. So the middle of 5x and 3.5x, and you would lose a lot of value on your rare ore that you're crafting with. So I'd recommend using something like Magmite and Firite are very good, because obviously, like I just showed, this one has a passive and this one also has a weapons passive. The only other decent one near this that has a good weapons passive is Ore, but I feel like for me at least, I can get all the ores to craft a good weapon without Ore, but the passive I feel like isn't too great for me to really care about. So if we go back on over to crafting, as you can see, if we are to do what I was saying, I would recommend, honestly, my personal preference for weapons, like I said, Cutlass and Iron Hands, or weapons like that. We're going to use Magmite, and then we're going to use some Firite. Let's say we're doing 10 and 5. So if we do 10 and 10, as you see, the multiplier right here goes down. But if I select it, just, you know where I'm pointing. If we do less, 5 is the optimal amount of Firite to get the full burn chance passive, and 10 is just going to give us a good overall for the Magmite. So 10 and 5, and we're going to be in the Great Sword category. Lower chance for gauntlets. So if we lessen the Magmite we're using down to 5 and 5, we have a 47% chance to get something in the gauntlet category, which once again is what we're trying to aim for. Damage output is going to be something in the 7.2 range. Now, the only thing why I'm saying is you might want to figure out the math behind the weapon you want to get is the damage multiplier is now 4.75 instead of if we were using 10 Magmite, which would make it 4.83. But the only trade-off is now we can't get the gauntlet that we want. And the category it was in, which is Katana and Great Swords, have some of the lower DPS on average. So not too great, like 116 DPS. And then if we switch over to Iron Hand, as you see, 140 DPS. So realistically, what's the better weapon? It's probably going to be the Iron Hand to get. So you can get a 140 DPS out of an Iron Hand, which, how much? Actually, let me just see what I have. So I have 7 Magmite, 22 Firites, Darkite, Demonite. I can do this recipe. I'm actually going to go ahead and do that. I believe my sword wouldn't be as good. So I'm going to go ahead and craft this. So like I was saying before, 5 Firite and 5 Magmite is going to be pretty good. Now this is if you manage to pull these, but nonetheless, I am hoping for Iron Hands or gloves or some form like of gauntlets. Perfect. So now we'll take these, try to get as close to a 100% mastered craftsmanship as you can. Obviously, the higher, closer to 100%, the better quality that weapon is going to be, or armor, or whatever you're using, meaning the better value you're going to have out of it. So boom, we got these. These are 100% legendary. These do 72 damage. Now, the previous ones that I had, right, which were equipment, these did 86 base damage, but the trade-off is they only have 4 passives. This one already has 2 passives. 50%, this has a 35% chance to deal the 50%. This one had a similar thing because I used some of that, but this one is pretty good. So as another note, if you do have the resources, you can use a recipe like that and then stack it with like Demonite, Darkite, or whatever to get the multiplier way higher, which I would recommend if you have a ton of the resources, because realistically, the most optimal weapon for crafting is going to be something like a gauntlet. But now I'll take this gauntlet and I'll go and yes, I'm here to enhance. Once again, this is just an example. The other one I have is just very analytically optimal, but also very hard to get normally. So the best multiplier or enhancement you can get to is 7x right now, because legendary, you need a legendary essence to get 7x or to get to 8x, which is not in the game right now. They did say they're going to add that. So this is the highest you can get. Yeah, see, legendary essence, this isn't in the game, but boom. So we have that. Now it deals almost 100 damage. And then say we were to take this, go into the rune maker, take this, and then we were to put in some good stuff. Now it has 2 slots. What I would like doing is looking at what it needs a benefit of. So this needs a higher damage, but since usually I'm grinding mobs down for essence to sell, right? I'm going to want a form of lifesteal. So something like lifesteal and lethality is very good. You can farm drain edge from, I believe, the elite death axe maybe, or the reaper. Okay, yeah. You can farm the drain edge from the reaper. So the reaper really sells when it comes to fast attack speed. So what we'll do is if we want lifesteal, what we want on this is lifesteal. And I think if I were to put a fire chip on it, I think I just sold all of the fire chips I had, which, you know, so you could put a blast chip on it, right? 36%. Does this stack on this? Let's see. So if I were to put this on it, oh yeah, this goes up. So if you have a ton of blast chips that have a high chance for the thing to hit, you can actually stack this. So the one I put on it, so this one right here, this has a 9% chance to deal 37% of the thing. So this one I put on it has an 11%, and I have a 35% chance overall. So if I were to slap on something that's like, say, 10%, would it go up to a 45% chance? No. Oh, the damage goes up. So yeah, so if you wanted to increase that passive, you could do the damage one. But for me, what I want is high lethality and lifesteal, because I'm down there farming continuously, and with the lava and the continuously like failing parries and all that, you most likely want to get something with drain, some drain rune. I would really only recommend using these whenever there's 2 passives on it, because that's like the most optimal. Attack speed increase is pretty much useless on these faster weapons regardless, so it's kind of unnecessary. So this is a decent one. This is a decent one. Critical damage, 11% heal, 15% chance for critical. That's decent. I personally would like to get one with at least 10% life steal. This one is 11%. Another underrated rune is the Venom Crumb. Pretty decent. The main passive is pretty nice. So this one, heal 9% off physical damage and increase physical damage by 15%. I would personally attach and use this one, and then find another one that has honestly another 15% boost on physical damage would be most optimal in my opinion. You're really only going to get this from drain edges. Either way, for the most part, just make sure you do follow this format. This is going to be the best crafting recipe inside of the game, but that's going to be pretty much it for this video. If this helped you out, make sure to leave a like, and I'll see you on the next one.